All right, welcome back for another deep dive.
Another one.
Yeah. And today, we're tackling your research on Waves blockchain.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, last time we got like a little taste with Waves protocol, but now we're going even deeper. You know, like getting into how this whole thing actually works.
Yeah.
Think of it as like, your tech-savvy friends breaking it all down.
I like that.
Over like coffee and cookies or whatever.
Yeah, I like that analogy a lot. And what's really interesting about Waves blockchain is that it's designed to be like really user-friendly.
Totally.
Which is great for like understanding these complex topics.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. And, speaking of understanding, let's start with like the building blocks of any blockchain. Nodes.
Yes.
Your research had a really clever analogy. It used this giant digital library.
Oh, yeah, that's a perfect way to visualize it. You have full nodes.
Okay.
Which are like the head librarians, meticulously keeping records of like absolutely everything.
Everything.
Every transaction, every little detail, the entire history of the blockchain.
So full nodes have it all. But what about those times when you don't need the entire encyclopedia? You just need like a specific entry. That's where lightweight nodes come in.
Exactly. Lightweight nodes are kind of like the library assistants.
Okay.
They can quickly request specific information from the full nodes.
Gotcha.
Without needing to store the entire blockchain themselves.
Right.
Which makes the system so much more efficient.
Yeah.
Especially as it grows.
Especially as it grows, because if like every computer had to store the entire blockchain,
oh yeah,
things would just completely stop.
It'd grind to a halt.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got these nodes working away.
Working hard.
But how do they actually get rewarded for their efforts?
Right.
That brings us to the fascinating world of leased proof-of-stake, or LPoS.
This is where things get really interesting. Remember how Bitcoin uses proof of work?
Oh, yeah.
Which requires massive amounts of energy.
Huge amounts of energy.
Well, Waves takes a different approach.
Okay.
With 𝗕𝗏, much more sustainable.
Interesting.
And potentially even more decentralized.
And the analogy your research uses, comparing it to a classroom, it's brilliant. It's like students are nodes raising their hands to add the next block.
Yeah, I love that one.
To the blockchain. And the more effort they put in, represented by the number of Waves coins they've staked, the higher their chances of getting picked.
Exactly. And here's the cool part. Imagine those students being able to team up.
Okay.
And lease their stake to another student.
Whoa.
So even if they don't get picked themselves, they still share in the rewards if the student they lease to gets selected.
That's amazing.
It's a fantastic system for collaborative participation, allows smaller holders to contribute without running a full node themselves.
That's really cool, but doesn't that create a potential risk? What if like everyone just leases their stake to the biggest players?
Right.
Could that lead to centralization?
That's a great question, and it's a valid concern with any proof-of-stake system. However, the leasing mechanism in Waves actually helps to mitigate that risk by allowing smaller holders to pool their resources and compete with larger players.
Interesting.
It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how it evolves over time.
I see. So it's not just about throwing your coin in the biggest pot.
Right.
There's actual strategy involved.
Right.
Now let's move on to how Waves decides who gets to add those blocks in the first place.
Okay.
This is where Waves and G comes in.
Yes.
And from what I've read, it's like a well-choreographed dance between two types of blocks.
It's all about achieving harmony and synchronization.
Interesting.
We have key blocks, which are generated by randomly selected nodes.
Right.
Based on their stake, these key blocks act like checkpoints, setting the stage for transaction processing.
So key blocks set the tempo. What happens in between those checkpoints?
That's where microblocks come in. They're generated by other nodes using the key block's public key. And are responsible for adding individual transactions quickly and efficiently.
Cool.
This two-block system is what gives Waves NG its speed advantage.
Wow.
Think near-instant confirmation.
That's awesome.
Unlike some other blockchains where you might be waiting for ages.
Yeah, for sure. Huge difference.
Absolutely.
Especially for someone who, values speed and efficiency.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
For sure. And that's just one of the ways that Waves differentiates itself.
Cool.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's dive into the part that I know you're excited about. Smart assets.
Oh, yeah, those superhero tokens. I'm all ears. Tell me more.
All right. Smart assets are essentially programmable tokens that can represent anything you can imagine.
Cool.
They're like building blocks for creating all sorts of applications on the Waves blockchain.
I see.
Imagine owning a piece of digital art, a share in a company, or even access to exclusive content.
Interesting.
All represented by these unique tokens.
So it's like having a digital representation of value.
Yes.
That can be traded and used in all these different ways.
Exactly.
That's pretty powerful.
It is.
But I have to admit,
Yeah.
when I hear programmable tokens, my brain just goes straight to like complicated code and algorithms.
I understand that. But that's the beauty of Waves.
Okay.
It uses a programming language called 𝗪𝗃𝗏.
Right.
Which is designed to be surprisingly user-friendly.
Really?
You don't need to be a coding whiz
Okay.
to create your own smart assets.
So could you give me an example of how simple it is?
Sure.
Let's say I wanted to create a token that represents, I don't know, maybe loyalty points with my favorite coffee shop.
With 𝗪𝗃𝗏,
Yeah.
you could define the properties of that loyalty token.
Okay.
Like how many points are awarded for each purchase.
All right.
How they could be redeemed.
Gotcha.
And even set expiry dates.
Whoa.
You could even program in special awards for, like, frequent customers.
That's cool.
It's all about defining the rules.
Right.
And letting the blockchain do the rest.
So it's like having this mini program running on the blockchain that just manages all the loyalty points automatically.
Exactly.
And you're telling me I could potentially learn to do that myself.
Absolutely. 𝗪𝗃𝗏 is intuitive.
Okay.
And relatively easy to pick up.
Interesting.
There are tons of resources online to get you started.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
And who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe you'll be the one to create the next big smart asset that revolutionizes an entire industry.
Okay, now you've got me thinking.
Think big.
The possibilities really are endless.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about how Waves keeps up with the ever-changing world of technology.
Right.
I'm talking about plugins.
Yes.
Which your research compared to mods in video games.
That's a great comparison.
Yeah.
Plugins allow the Waves blockchain to continuously evolve and adapt without needing a complete system overhaul.
So they don't have to, like, redo the whole thing.
Yeah.
Every time they want to change something.
They're like adding new features and functionalities to your favorite game.
Yeah.
Keeps things fresh and exciting.
Yeah, that's good because, like, for someone like me who wants to stay up to date but doesn't want to be overwhelmed by constant major changes, this is a huge plus.
It is.
It's like a system that grows with me rather than forcing me to constantly relearn everything from scratch.
The plugin approach ensures that Waves remains flexible and adaptable, capable of integrating new technologies as they emerge.
Makes sense.
This is essential for any blockchain that wants to stay relevant in the long term.
It's like future-proofing the system to make sure it can keep up with all the new innovation.
Precisely.
But are there any downsides to this modular approach?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Could it lead to, like, fragmentation or compatibility issues down the line? Those are valid concerns.
Okay.
While plugins offer great flexibility.
Yeah.
Managing them effectively is crucial.
Right.
The Waves team has to carefully vet and integrate new plugins to ensure they don't compromise the security and stability of the core system.
Right, so they have to be very careful about what they add.
Yes, it's a balancing act between embracing innovation and maintaining a robust foundation.
That makes sense. So it's not just about adding plugins willy-nilly. There's a strategic element to it.
It's like building a house.
Okay.
You want to add new rooms and features.
Yeah.
But you need to make sure that the foundation remains strong and the overall structure stays cohesive.
That's a great analogy.
Thank you.
It really highlights that you need to do thoughtful development and careful planning.
Absolutely.
So we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From the foundational nodes to the futuristic world of smart assets and the ever-evolving nature of plugins.
It's been a journey.
It's been quite a journey.
Yeah.
It's clear that Waves blockchain has a lot to offer.
It certainly does.
But as with any technology, there are always considerations and potential challenges.
Absolutely. That's what makes this deep dive so valuable.
Right.
It's about equipping you with the knowledge to understand not just what Waves blockchain is, but how it fits into the larger landscape of blockchain technology.
So what are some of the potential drawbacks or limitations of a system like this? What should our listener be aware of?
That's a great question, and one that, any discerning blockchain enthusiast should be asking.
Yeah, for sure.
What are the potential downsides here? What are the things that could go wrong?
Well, for starters, while Waves is, positioned as this, like, user-friendly platform, we have to remember that the blockchain space is still relatively young.
Yeah, it's still early days.
There's always a learning curve involved.
Yeah, definitely.
And even with simpler programming languages like 𝗪𝗃𝗏, there's still technical knowledge required to, like, truly harness its power. Okay, so even though they've made it more accessible than some, there's still a barrier to entry for the average person.
Yeah, there is.
Okay, what else?
Security is another big thing to consider.
Yeah, of course.
Waves uses LPoS, which, as we talk about, has advantages over proof of work, but it's not without, its vulnerabilities.
Sure.
For example, if a single entity manages to acquire a significant stake, they could potentially influence the network.
Right.
Which, raises concerns about centralization.
Of course. Yeah, it's like any system where power gets concentrated in the hands of a few.
Exactly.
It's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, definitely. And then there's the question of adoption.
Okay.
For any blockchain to truly succeed, it needs a vibrant ecosystem of users, developers, applications.
Makes sense.
While Waves has made some strides in this area, it's still competing with other established blockchains that have a larger user base and more mature ecosystems.
So it's like a popularity contest in a way.
Kind of, yeah.
You need enough people to actually use it, believe in the technology.
You need the momentum.
For it to gain traction.
Exactly. And last but not least, let's not forget about regulation.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
The world of blockchain and cryptocurrencies.
Right.
It's still navigating this, very complex regulatory landscape.
Yeah, for sure.
Governments around the world, they're still figuring out how to approach this emerging technology.
Yeah, nobody really knows yet.
And, changes in regulations could impact the future of Waves.
Absolutely.
Any blockchain, really.
It's not just about the technology itself. It's also those external factors that can influence its success.
For sure.
Sounds like there's a lot to consider.
There is. There's no such thing as a perfect system.
Yeah.
And Waves, blockchain is no exception.
Right.
It's important to be aware of the challenges and weigh them against the benefits.
That's true.
When you're evaluating any blockchain platform.
Well said. So I think our listener is now equipped.
Yeah, they've got the tools.
Get a much deeper understanding of Waves blockchain, not just the
hype.
The shiny features, but also the potential pitfalls.
The good and the bad.
Yeah. It's been a really insightful deep dive.
I agree. And remember, this is just the beginning of your exploration.
That's right.
Keep asking questions.
Keep learning. Keep challenging the status quo.
Yes. That's how we move this world of blockchain forward.
Beautifully put. And a huge thanks to our listener for sending us this research.
Yes, thank you.
And to you, listener, we encourage you to continue this journey of discovery. Explore the vast world of blockchain technology, experiment with different platforms. Who knows, you might be the one to create the next groundbreaking application.
Or solve some of these big challenges.
Or solve some of the challenges we face today. The future is bright.
It is.
And full of possibilities.
Lots of possibilities.
I can't wait to see what you discover. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing.
Thank you.
And happy exploring.
Happy exploring.